Snapdragon 8 Elite, a true full-screen 144Hz display with an under-panel camera and even a variable aperture on the rear camera, the Nubia Z70 Ultra has all of the top-tier specs and an incredible price to go with that. So is it the next flagship killer? Let's take a look. So full disclosure before we get started though, the video is sponsored by Nubia and they've sent me the Z70 Ultra for free to showcase to you guys. So the very first time I picked up the phone, I was blown away by how great this display looks. It's a bright and vibrant 144Hz 6.85-inch AMOLED. We've got a resolution of 2688 by 1216 and a peak brightness of 2000 nits. Now the 1.3mm ultra-thin bezels really make this look premium, and then the 16-megapixel under-display camera just tops it off. And the camera actually performed much better than I expected, but we'll cover more on the camera samples shortly. Now the phone as a whole is quite a squared off design, with the rectangular shape and the flat sides, but it's got a nice modern design to it without going over the top. Now on the rear you can see we've got a triple camera setup, and the main camera even has a variable aperture, which we'll go into a lot more detail with the camera samples shortly, but overall I really like the look of the Z70 Ultra. It also feels strong, sturdy and well built. We even have IP68 and IP69 water resistance, and this means that not only can it be fully submerged underwater, but it can also withstand high pressure water jets and steam cleaning. Now the phone is powered by the Snapdragon 8 Elite, and this version is paired with 12GB of RAM and 256GB of storage, so it's certainly no slouch. When it comes to gaming or productivity, you can be pretty certain it's going to handle anything you throw at it, given that it's running the best system on chip available for Android phones. So I tested it out with some games like Asphalt, PUBG and Call of Duty Mobile, and as expected, it just handled everything perfectly. You can play with high quality at high refresh rates, and with this full screen display, it's just a pleasure to use. Now for those concerned with the synthetic benchmarks, I ran it through Geekbench 6 where it scored 3034 for single core and then 9234 for multi-core, which is around what I'd expect from the Snapdragon 8 Elite. And then for the GPU benchmark, we get a score of 16,573. And we also went into 3D Mark and ran it through their Wildlife Extreme benchmark, and here it scored 5,898. We got an average frame rate of just over 35. When it comes to the cameras, the highlight of the phone is of course the main camera, and it's a 50-megapixel camera with the Sony IMX906 sensor. It's got optical stabilization, multi-direct, phase detect autofocus, and we get a 35mm lens with a 9-stop variable aperture. You can let the phone decide the f-stop for you, or you can manually pick, and you can go all the way down to f1.59 to let in lots of light and create plenty of depth of field in your shots, or you can jump up to f4 and get crisp photos with plenty of focus. Now overall, the primary camera for photos just performed great. These are all point and shoot, and we get some nice punchy photos. We got plenty of detail in the highlights and the shadows, and overall they're just great photos. Now we've also got the 50-megapixel ultra wide for landscape and macro shots. It's got autofocus, 122-degree field of view and an f2 aperture, and as you can see it takes good photos, although I much prefer the primary camera. Now finally is the telephoto camera, and interestingly enough, the specs are saying a 70mm focal length, but the camera app tells you 85mm, but it's 2.4 times zoom. We also get optical image stabilization, autofocus, and an aperture of f2.48 and a 4p lens, but as you can see, for the times you need some zoom, we get some great photos from the telephoto. Now for the selfies, we've got the 16-megapixel camera that's under the display, and here are the images that you're going to get from the selfie camera. And I have to be honest, I was impressed, and I think these under-display selfie cameras are coming a long way. After the image has been processed, it looks fine and it's perfectly usable as a selfie photo. But the main drawback I've been finding with these under-display cameras is that number one, you always have to make sure that your screen is very clean. And then number two, if they're pointed directly at a light source, it can cause a lot of issues with glare and flaring. But provided you're not doing that, you can see we get good enough selfies from the selfie camera. Now for video, we can shoot 8K at 30 frames a second from the primary camera, or 4K at 120, 60 or 30 from the primary and the telephoto, but it's 60 FPS or lower from the ultra-wide. And then for the selfies, we get 1080p at 30 frames a second, so we'll just take a look at the samples now. So here's the video from the primary camera. This is 8K, 30 frames a second, which is the max when you're in 8K mode. Just walking along, if I do a slow pan, quick pan back, Have a little jog going forward. Now we're on the same camera, but it's 4K, 60 frames a second, and again I'm just slowly walking forward, and you can actually go to 120 frames if you want the slow motion. We'll just do a slow pan. Quick pan back, have a little jog. And this is the ultra wide camera, again 4K, 60 frames a second. We're just walking along slowly. We'll stop and do a slow pan. Quick pan back. Jog forward. And this is a video from the telephoto 4K 60. Now I'm not walking forward because it's not a good idea to be walking forward while using the telephoto. If I just do a pan so you can see how the focus works. It all seems to be pretty clear to me in the viewfinder, so we'll have to wait and see on the computer. Do a quick pan back. And that's a video from the telephoto. Now this is a video from the selfie camera. It's 1080p at 30 frames a second. When it comes to the selfie camera, it's much better in the right lighting conditions. But as I said, if you've got a big light source pointing at that lens, then you will get a lot of glare and flare. If you just do a slow pan round, do a little jog forward, and again, it's not quite as good on the video as it is with the photos because there's less processing, but overall, still gives you selfies you can use. So overall, you can see the video is good for all of the cameras, but of course, video with the telephoto has to be kept very still. My favourite is by far the primary camera, and the under-display selfie camera is fine in the right lighting. I mean, it's not performing as good as a punch-hole camera, but as long as you can keep it out of the direct light sources, then it gives you usable video. Now there's also a switch on the left-hand side of the phone that defaults to camera mode, but you can customize this to something else like your gaming mode. But personally, I liked it as the camera mode, and it's just a quick way to open up your camera and take photos, even when the phone is locked. Now powering the device, we've got a 6150 mAh battery made of silicone carbon anode. It's designed to help keep cool under large power draw, and then we also get 80 watt fast charging for the times that you do run out of power. For the software side, we're running Nebula AI OS, which is based on Android 15, and it works well, it's fast, it's responsive, and overall it's just a pleasure to use. And actually, it seems to be a lot more bare bones than previous versions, which I think is a good thing. We don't have loads of bloatware pre-installed like the usual Booking.com, along with the folders like Hot Games and Hot Apps, and I quite like the default layout in the icons. Now one thing we do have though is recommended apps and games in the news tab if you scroll to the far left, but thankfully you can just go into settings and disable these. But Nebula OS has all of the usual Android 15 settings you'd expect, on top of plenty of customization for themes and icons, and there are 3 themes to choose from in the settings, but you can go in and customize everything from lock screens and wallpaper to app icons, colors and shape of toggles, and even your fingerprint animation or your always on display. Now on the note of fingerprint scanning, it works well to unlock your phone. It unlocks my phone every time without errors and also unlocks it nice and quickly, as you can see here. Then we've also got the option for face unlock, which again, it works most of the time I've tried, but because it is this under display camera, I've had a few times where it didn't work, and it's normally because it was either too dark or there was a strong light source pointing at the camera and it just struggled a bit. But I'd say out of about 50 unlocks, I had issues maybe 5 times. But as I was saying, the OS works well, and whether you're browsing the web, going through socials, answering emails, or watching some media, the phone as a whole is just great for the day-to-day tasks. Now for media and gaming, we've got dual speakers with DTS:X certification, and they sound fine. The only thing is, as usual, they aren't the best at bass reproduction, but it's pretty much what I'd expect from a smartphone, so we'll just take a listen. Now in the other specs, we've got IP68 and IP69 water resistance, so this means it doesn't matter if it's underwater or even high pressure water, it can handle it for short periods of time. Now we've also got NFC, Wi-Fi 7 and Bluetooth 5.4, so this is well future-proofed in the connectivity department. Now when it comes to the packaging, if we open it up, you can see we've got the phone itself on top, followed by a box, and this box contains the SIM tray tool, we've got the instruction manuals, and it even contains a protective case for the phone. Now underneath that, we've got the USB-C cable and the power adapter, and the power adapter is also 80 watts, so this means that you get the full fast charging capabilities straight out of the box. Now overall, the Z70 Ultra is a great phone for those of you that want top specs on top of a good camera system and a nice lightweight version of Android. For watching media, mobile gaming, or just browsing the web or socials, it's a pleasure to use. The 144Hz full screen display really enhances the experience. Now another great thing about the Z70 Ultra is the price, and it's launched at $729 in the USA, £649 for the UK, and then €749 for the EU. And when you look at everything you get spec-wise, that's a very competitive price. Now of course, I've placed the link down in the description below, so you can go ahead and grab yours now. And hopefully I've covered everything in today's video, but if there's anything I've missed or you've got any questions at all, then just ask them in the comments and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But thanks for watching the video, and don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with the latest tech.